Hi, James. This is Elise Batzel. Can you hear me?
Ms. Bassett, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read into the minutes. This is from Commissioner Hagan. Madam Vice Chair, please be advised, due to a previous scheduled out-of-town trip, I will be unable to attend tonight's public hearing. Please include this message into the records of this evening's meeting. And at this time, clerk, we'll have a roll call vote.
Hagan. Cameron Cepeda.
Here.
Cullen.
Here.
Kemp.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Wastel.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I will now request that the Planning Commission staff begin with the first item on this evening's agenda.
Yes,
Melissa
ma'am.
Line.
Yes, ma'am. I can introduce the item. Melissa Linehard, Planning Commission staff. The first item we have tonight, HC CPA 22-12, is an item for transmittal this evening. It is the comprehensive plan text amendment to the capital improvement section, and Mr. Diego Guerra will be presenting that item. So I'll go ahead and pass the baton to him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Diego Guerra, Planning Commission staff. Again, this is item Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan Amendment 22-12, which is the capital improvement section update to the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. A little bit of background. This update is part of the governance chapter of the Hillsborough Comprehensive Plan overall update. It is the it is part of the fourth and final phase of the major update to the comprehensive plan, as depicted to the chart on the right of the graphic. As you can see by those sections that are grayed out, there's only a few left that will begin their updates in the near term. The current context of the section that's currently adopted includes topics on levels of service, financial feasibility, needed facilities and improvements, coordinating capital improvements with land development, policies regarding capital infrastructure in the coastal area, topics on informing the public of capital improvement planning, schools, support transportation improvements, and additionally, the overall update was developed collaboratively with county staff. Their inputs and comments are incorporated into this update as well. A little bit of background. So the current update, regarding the current update, 10% of the language, current language, is new policy language. The remaining approximately 90% of the language is currently existing in the adopted section that is currently exists. We have reduced the proposed section is reduced in size from a little over 160 goals, objectives, and policies to 61 goals, objectives, and policies in the proposed section. We did retain important components of the existing plan, as I previously stated, and we've updated and modernized these components. One of the reasons for the reduction in size is due to the fact that we've removed a lot of regulatory language, a lot of language that is no longer applicable to the section, and additionally, a lot of language that is also out of date with the old previous regulations that is no longer applicable. With the proposed update, on your screen, you'll see the proposed goal and 9 objectives. In bold are new or substantively changed topic areas. The topic areas regarding the adopted levels of service I will touch on in the next couple slides. excuse me, we are also proposing a new objective series on equitable distribution of capital improvements. In terms of, as I mentioned, objective 1 and levels of service, there are currently in the adopted section 3 levels of service. However, they are currently, the current terminology is category A, B, and C facilities. We are proposing to change this terminology, this nomenclature, to adopted levels of service, target levels of service, and public schools levels of service. For adopted levels of service, these are levels of service that must be maintained for concurrency purposes. The only proposed changes are to potable water in terms of adding language that speaks to pounds per square inch. And then we've also updated the parks and rec levels of service to be consistent with the recently adopted impact fees, and we've made that level of service to be analogous to that. There are no updates to wastewater or solid waste. In terms of target levels of service, which are formerly known as Category B facilities, these are levels of service that are adopted but are not required to be maintained for concurrency purposes. They are used for planning purposes only. We've updated the language and added a target flood level of service to stormwater, and the updated language and level of service is consistent with the development review. The target level of service objective area also speaks to county roads, and there's also language on multimodal transportation. As for category C facilities, which we are proposing, as I mentioned, to public schools level of service, there's no change to this level of service or to the language. This level of service is included in the plan to help enforce the interlocal agreement within the county and the school district. I'm sorry. For target levels of service, as I mentioned, we added multimodal levels of service. These are target measures in policy and in non-adopted maps, which illustrate vehicular, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian conditions. The multimodal levels of service allow the county to look at existing conditions and plan for future improvements and for mobility options. As far as stakeholder and outreach is concerned, we announced the update in July through a newsletter. We've also published and announced stakeholder and public outreach events through social media. We also created a project website and also held a virtual public kickoff event that occurred in mid-August. The project website includes reference documents that were created and enable the greater transparency and stakeholder review. The project website allowed stakeholders and the public to review the language, review the currently adopted and proposed language side by side, and review the language to compare and contrast and make notes. The project page also allowed the public to submit comments and provide any feedback that the public had on the update. We also held targeted outreach to stakeholders, neighborhood associations, and the development community as well. As far as next steps, should the Board of County Commissioners today decide to choose to transmit the proposed amendment, we expect it to return for adoption in early 2023. We didn't have any objections from reviewing agencies, and we did receive comments from Hillsborough County, EPC, and the Transportation Planning Organization as well. In terms of consistency review, the update is consistent with the goals of multiple multiple sections and chapters of the comprehensive plan, as you can see on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Planning Commission found Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan 22 TAC 12 consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. And we recommend that Board of County Commissioners transmit for state review. This concludes my presentation. Myself and county staff are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you for your presentation. This is a public hearing. See no one. I'm going to ask for board discussion. Commissioner Wasso.
Thank you, Chair. It's a lot of red lines through this document, and I do appreciate concision, and I'm careful about the power of certain words. So if you'll entertain me on page 30 of this document, there is one section called active recreation facilities that was entirely redlined and rephrased. And I just want to make sure that we were careful, and I want to fully understand the breakout for the word sports complexes being added into that section of the CIP and what that specifically could be applied to.
Yes, sir. So that's an excellent question. The reason for the breakout of the levels of service and the addition of certain facilities is, as I mentioned, that level of service and that section was made to be analogous with the recently completed impact fee study and its associated impact fees that were adopted by the board. The reason that that language was changed, like I mentioned, is to make it analogous to that impact fee study in terms of what the impact fee recommendations were in terms of what facilities were included and how the impact fee study defined regional recreation facility and some of the other types of facilities. So that language was changed again to be analogous to the impact fee study so that it mirrored same terminology and there was no confusion between one or the other. Does that answer your question, sir?
No.
I'm sorry.
I can be more pointed.
Sure.
While I certainly support growth, I guess my question is that I want to be very protective of making sure that the residents of Hillsborough County don't, once again, are not subsidizing off of their backs another billionaire. And could that potentially happen with the phrase sports complexes in the CIP?
Okay, yes, sir, that's a good question. So the sports complex terminology is specific to those sport complex facilities and any other recreation facilities owned and managed by the county and managed by Parks and Recreation Department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I see no other commissioner in the queue, so do we have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Commissioner Kemp and second by Commissioner On. Clerk, would you please call the roll for a vote?
Cameron Cepeda,
Yes.
Cullen,
Excuse me, do we, point of order, we can't use our screens?
We usually when one is out. Can we use the screen or?
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. We
Just-
can use the screen.
Okay, just pop it, thank you. Usually because when we have one out, then it doesn't pop up. Okay, please record your votes.
Yes.
Mine's not up. Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, this HC CPA 22 22-12 will be transmitted to the state. And okay, we'll move to our second item. Before we move to that on a small-scale plan amendment and related major modifications to the plan development zoning, Ms. Elise Bassel is on for public comments.
Yes,
We got-
ma'am. I'm actually on for the next item.
Okay. Ms. Leinhardt?
I believe Ms. Batzel is on for B1A and B1B.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes, that's where we are. Yes.
Yes, so to introduce the items, the applicant has requested a continuance for these items, and that is, I understand it, at the board's discretion this evening.
Okay.
And
Can I have a
should add-
point?
I'm sorry, I should add that the date they've asked to continue it to is March 9th.
Yes.
May I be recognized for a point of order?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Gormley, I know we have public comments from folks in my district on this one. Could you clarify, we won't have any public comments then today until after their request to continue is heard. I'm just worried procedurally if people get an opportunity to speak, then public comments would be closed. Could you clarify that?
Yes, sir. In the event that the board votes to continue these applications, all opportunities for public comment that are available today will be available at the continued date. There'll be no lost opportunity for public comment if these are continued.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kemp?
Thank you. This has just been continued, I mean, several times, and we've had much more public engagement in this in the past, and it's in the past, in my first couple years as a commissioner, it hasn't really happened in the last years, but these kinds of items, the public would come in actually physically to the building, and they would be continued, and they would make the plans to come to county center and couldn't get heard. I've just had issues with doing continuances at the meeting now, and I guess there's nobody in public comment tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Madam Chair, if I could be recognized before you close the hearing.
We're in board discussion right now. County Attorney? We don't have anyone to.
There are two people out.
There are apparently two individuals at the Saunders Library.
Okay, knowing that, then I think we, I just have issues with this, where people come to Saunders Library, and people have come here in the past with this, and they've written, and they just get worn down, and I don't blame them, whether we vote or not. I don't know even how many continuances, but I know that I've been on, had this presented at least, I think, I don't know, staff, maybe you could tell me, is this I know we go through these votes at least twice anyway, so how many times has this been at this commission already?
So commissioners, for item B1A and B1B, this is the first time that the board has heard these. Item B, I'm sorry, it's been on the board's agenda once before, and the board continued the item from October to this December hearing for B1A and B1B. For B2A and B2B, the board had previously heard the rezoning, heard the comp plan presentation, and voted to remand that application back to the zoning hearing master to consider some changes to the zoning. So you have considered the zoning once before. You've had B2A and B2B once before, and B1A and B1B have been on the board's agenda, but were continued before substantive discussion took place.
And right now, you're saying if we're dealing with B1A, sorry, I'm a little confused. We're dealing, and I know that they're two very similar issues, and they've kind of been taken together. And I remember that Commissioner White, before we took a vote, I guess, the last time, asked that they be brought back together. So are we talking about continuing, okay, tonight? Okay, we have right now B1A and B1B. And that's it on our agenda tonight. The other, or is the other also?
They're all on the agenda tonight. We have two pairs of related comprehensive plan and zonings. B1A and B1B is the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning at State Road 60 in Valrico, and B2B is, B2A and B2B are the rezoning and comp plan amendment at Miller Road. I believe.
I just know that people have been in here several times. I'm familiar when I saw these on the agenda. I was like, okay, I've been here, done that. And I just, I don't know what others think, but I have been, in my first couple years here, there was a continuous commissioners missing the meetings, and then if there's 5 or fewer, 5 commissioners, fewer than 6 commissioners, it would get postponed. We'd have big groups here. We would have, continuances wear down the public in terms of this. And I have a issue with this being continued at this time since I made it here tonight. And I've been here in the past, and I'm just, I'm concerned, no matter how we vote, that the, property owners or the neighborhood, the surrounding community gets engaged and shows up again and again and sent us emails today. And we hear from them, and then the meeting is put off at another time. I'm even concerned that we're back here now, and there's been various reasons for it. I understand that, but I know it's probably discouraging to the public. Maybe someone else should speak at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner on.
Yeah, and Commissioner, I agree with a lot of everything you said. The one component I guess I worry about is if, my position on this property, I know there's been a couple hearings on this, and this is something I just don't like, both of these. This is my district. I had the benefit of knocking on every door from Valrico Forest to Miller Woods, all the way to Carriage Park, and the whole community is very concerned about this development. If you all know this street, I know it like the back of my hand. I was raised on Miller Road. And we're right up on the urban service area line. I get my strawberry milkshakes at a farm right down the road. This, I do not think, is good planning. And this particular road is, it's a bottleneck road, and where these entrances would be for this particular complex, or complexes, would just be a disaster for this area. I know we got to make tough decisions. I know we got to put people somewhere, but I can speak for East and South County that we are doing it. We are putting complex after complex after complex in the worst areas as far as traffic goes. Traffic has extended for about 45 minutes to an hour on this street. Like I said, I know it like the back of my hand. It bottlenecks. It's not a place where you would ever walk in public. There's no possible way unless you said 5 Hail Marys before you cross the street. So my position, I just want to state my position on this property. I'm not crazy about a continuance. The only reason I feel inclined to give it is just because of what it could mean legally if things go through. So that's really my only position, is that they have requested this continuance, and I don't know what that impact would be legally down the road if for some reason this fails. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this. I think this is spot zoning. I think that a Res 20 in this particular area is just a disaster for the community. I've gotten countless emails, and I feel like maybe people aren't here that would be here. So that's my concern, is that if we don't agree to the continuance, then what impact would that have later on if we were to deny it? Say, if everyone were to, I know I'm 1 of 7 votes here, but if we were to deny it, what impact would that be?
1 of 6.
Yeah, correct.
Either one of you want to respond, county attorneys or?
Well, I'll just say that the continuance request that came in, I'll say this hearing is procedurally in order. The items are before the board as appropriately so. However, the applicant has indicated that they had a conflict with a hearing at Tampa City Council. I'm not personally verifying this, but this is information that was relayed, and that the applicant's team was not available to speak to some of the items that I think may be salient for the discussion of these applications. So to the extent that
Madam Chair, may I address the board at some point since it's our application?
Staff, can you please turn that mic off until we finish our discussion? Thank you so much.
So to the extent that it would be beneficial to have a full presentation that would, if the applicant's team were here, that would allow all of their arguments to be placed on the record and addressed fully with the board, and an issue, a potential issue, hypothetical issue of a concern about the applicant team not being here would be avoided.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Commissioner Watson. Commissioner Kemp. We'll just keep going.
Sorry, I put my name up again. I just wanted to clarify one thing. Is it true? Do we have anyone in the we said 2 people from Saunders. So here's my question legally. Can we hear from those, even if we do a continuance, it seems to me we've done this before, that we could hear at least from those 2 parties at Saunders tonight. I mean, they've come to Saunders to speak, and can we, even if we do a continuance, can we hear them as part of this?
I would say that would not be advisable, considering that if the applicant's team is necessary for rebuttal or addressing of those, to respond to some of the issues that might be raised by those individuals, that could create an issue later on. So I would ask that if the board is so inclined to continue, that it be done cleanly with the single action to simply continue the items, each separate set of items, talking about both B1A and B1B and B2A and B2B, because Ms. Bassel is, I think, going to speak about both continuance requests.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Watson.
Thank you, Chair. My actual question, especially since I see Commissioners Cohen and Owen in line, and if they would be willing to give grace, I think that the first step, since it sounds like we're gonna start talking in circles here, is if we can simply hear their reason for asking for the continuance, that can give us more to digest here. And I do commiserate that I don't want people feeling like they showed up for no reason at all, but also there are legal procedures. The county has abundance of lawsuits against them for certain things that I would like to avoid. So if we could just hear from the applicant and then go from there, Chair.
Is that okay with the board? Okay, thank you. Ms. Elise Bass, can you speak at this time?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Elise Batzel, Stearns Weaver Miller, on behalf of the applicant. To clarify, the applicant has never requested a continuance of these items in the past. The continuances have been at the request of the board, not the applicant, so I think that's really important. When this item, 21-26, and the companion rezoning came up, our entire team was ready to make a presentation, but Commissioner White did ask that 21-26 and 21-27 and their companion rezonings go together. And so without asking the applicant's team about whether that date was acceptable, it was continued. Unfortunately, much of our team and all of our experts, many of our experts that would be testifying in all of these matters are at an incredibly controversial city council hearing that was already scheduled on this date. And so it's really impossible for us to appropriately move forward. And it would be incredibly prejudicial if we were not granted the continuance at this particular time, given the facts and given the fact that the applicant has never requested any of these continuances. This is the first request for a continuance.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
happy to answer any questions.
And with that nugget of information, I'd like to make a motion, or
Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
Want to hear, on Coin, you've taken your name out. Everyone is spoke, okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Hold on
There
one
was one
second.
other issue.
Ms. Bassel, county staff, those of you who are monitoring the line, can you please put her on mute right now? Thank you so much. Okay, Commissioner Owen.
And I agree with that. I've seen the prior meetings, and that what she said is true. And that's why I'm going to support the continuance. I just, with that caveat that and apologies to the people at the library, but I sure don't want this to be a habit. But I think that just legally we would be in a spot here if for some reason it were denied, and I don't want to do that. And I want to give people a chance to show up again and speak. So I'm going to support it reluctantly. So just wanted to state that.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Wasu. You want to go ahead and make your motion?
yeah, motion move for approval.
I'll second.
And just for clarification, we're going to need two separate actions, one for the CPA 2126 and MM 22862. So is that your motion on those B1A and B1B?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll second.
You're saying it needs to be a joint motion for the two?
And then there'll be a separate action necessary for B2A and B2B
Okay.
in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on B1A.
And the continuance would be to March 9th at 6 p.m.
Correct. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp? Thank you. Motion carried 5-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll go ahead and take a vote, because your motion included both, on B1B.
I'll move to continue B2A. I'll move to continue B2A and B2B
Second.
to March 9th.
We have a motion by Commissioner Coyne and second by Commissioner Watson. Please record your vote.
Motion carried 5-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
Commissioners, if I would just note for the record and anybody in listening public, the rezoning applications with this continuance will be renoticed. Typically, a continuance keeps the notice intact. However, the zoning tonight was noticed for Saunders for in-person participation, and it will change in March. So just let everybody know that will be renoticed for the March 9th hearing.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Kemp?
Thank you. I just would like to ask the attorneys a couple questions. 'Cause obviously, the zoning hearing at City Council has been set for a while as well. So there would be some advance notice of this kind of issue. So in terms of the applicant in these circumstances, is there another opportunity besides continuing the meeting the night of in terms of giving us notice about this, giving the public notice about this? Any opportunity other than doing it right at this moment?
I believe so. The request came in, obviously very close to the hearing. Certainly opportunity for that request to have been made any time in the past. The pace of the zoning, there is some ability to control that by which zoning hearing master they go to. That zoning hearing master feeds to a board hearing. So, I understand that the concern about bringing people down, and it's always something that we struggle with when there's a request for a continuance that can't be definitively acted on until the meeting. It puts the public in limbo as to do they show up and not be able to participate, or take the chance of it being heard and losing their opportunity. So we'll look at some opportunities we could identify to have a structure where that can be done, perhaps without having to have it done at the hearing.
It seems like there should be something that makes that available rather than, everyone coming here. I think the first item here tonight could have been, set at another meeting. There was not urgency on the first item, and the other items now, including the items that we just post or workshopping now and doing. We had meetings set up tonight. Now this, and it just seems like we need to have some availability to not have this occur and not have people showing up, waiting, and looking at this, and having everyone else come for this and be asked for a continuance at this time. I just didn't know if there was anything else available, but certainly if there's not, it seems like we should put in place something so that this doesn't happen at the meeting.
Certainly. We'll look at options and bring those back for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gormley. Commissioner Wostel.
Chair, it was just a lot of these things could possibly be addressed through a matter of updating old board policies, especially when several of us just got into our office 2 weeks ago, and perhaps these things should have a board policy to where they don't happen right after election, but board policy is probably the rectification for many of these challenges. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't see anyone else in the queue. Okay, Ms. Leinhardt.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda tonight is item B3. This is an item you've seen before, HCCPA 22-15. This is an adoption hearing for the text amendment of the comprehensive plan related to the protection of gopher tortoise habitat and other significant and essential wildlife habitats. With that, I'll introduce Sean College, who has the presentation ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sean College here with your Planning Commission staff, and I'll share my screen and tell you real quickly about a reminder about this plan amendment. This is an adoption hearing for 22-15 entitled Gopher Tortoise Habitat. And gopher tortoise habitat is very important of listed species habitat because gopher tortoises in particular provide shelter for up to 350 plus species. This particular plan amendment, text amendment to the comprehensive plan, was requested by the Board of County Commissioners on June 6th as a way to enhance the ability and the flexibility in setting aside land for protection. And it was transmitted by the BOCC on October 13th and is now back for your consideration. And just a quick reminder, we would be updating 3 policies, speaking specifically to developments retaining density when they voluntarily set aside land for protection. Also calling out clustering and other techniques that could be used, and flexibility and options for setting aside protection of significant and essential wildlife habitat. And finally, a consideration that density and lot sizes and surrounding area is another consideration that could could be used as flexibility and options to help incentivize the protection of significant and essential wildlife habitat, and specifically gopher tortoise habitat. That is what's being considered. It is consistent. It was found consistent with the other policies in your plan relative to the protection of habitat. After transmittal to state agencies, there were no objections and no comments with regard to adoption of this. And your Planning Commission did find it consistent and it's now available for your consideration for adoption. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Sean. This is a public hearing. Seeing that we have anyone, board discussion?
Move approval?
Second.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Cohen and second by Commissioner Kemp. Please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay. Ms. Leinhardt.
Thank you. The final item we have for this evening is item B4, HCCPA 22-16B. This is another text amendment up for adoption tonight that's publicly initiated regarding the removal of the potable water well field protection area map from the comprehensive plan. And with that, I'll introduce Ms. Melissa Dickens, who will be doing the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Melissa Dickens, Planning Commission staff. One moment while I share my screen, please. Again, this is Amendment HC CPA 2216B. Tonight is an adoption hearing for this amendment. One moment, I'm sorry, it's not advancing. I apologize. Some history and background. This is a map that has been in the comprehensive plan for some time. It specifies a radial protection area for wells that serve a minimum number of year-round potable users. It has been incorporated into the One Water chapter, and the definition section within the comprehensive plan also provides the purpose of the regulation and where the map can be found. This amendment is a publicly initiated amendment. It was initiated by the Environmental Services Division, proposes to remove the map from the comprehensive plan and modify the corresponding definition. It does not remove or alter the regulation or the regulatory impact. County staff, the applicant, indicates that because of the frequency of the data changes and where the wells are located, and also the map scale, that continually amending the map within the comprehensive plan is ineffective and challenging to keep updated. And FDEP maintains a database with the relevant wells in the buffer areas that is relied upon. Again, the amendment proposes the removal of this map here on your screen. It also proposes this change to the definitions section so that it is not shown on a map adopted within the comprehensive plan, but as maintained and updated by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. We have sent it out to state, local, and regional agencies for review, and we received no objections. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan, specifically the One Water chapter and the intergovernmental coordination section. And the Planning Commission recommended that you find HCCPA 2216B consistent with the comprehensive plan. This recommendation has been forwarded to you all, and it is now your pleasure for adoption this evening. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available if there are any questions. The applicant, Kevin Moran, is also here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson. This is a public hearing. Seeing no one for public comments, board discussion. Seeing no one in the queue.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Owen, second by Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
And now we'll vote on the ordinance for the adoption of both CPA 22-15 and CPA 22-16B.
So moved.
Second.
Can we have a motion by Commissioner Coyne and second by Commissioner Owen? Please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Okay. We have no other items coming before us tonight, so everyone have a good evening, and thank you so much.